people, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today's video is going to be reading the amount of pages that I pick up my phone. So if you didn't know, if you go onto settings and on screen time, you can actually see not only the amount of hours that you've spent on your phone, but you can also see the amount of times that you actually picked up your phone in a day, which I never knew about until I saw Ellen Catherine's video idea of this and instantly knew I had to do it. I think it's such a fun concept, and full credits to her, of course. So of course I never actually realised how much I do pick up my phone in a day, and when I had a look I was like, oh, so I actually do pick up my phone a crazy amount during a day, and I need to break this habit. I need to break this habit because if I factored in the amount of times that I pick up my phone for the amount of pages that I read in a day, I would get through way more of my physical TBR, I would get through way more books, and also I would break my crippling screen addiction, crippling phone addiction. I need to stop being chronically online, and I need to get through some of my physical TBR, you know what I'm saying? So for example, if I picked up my phone 100 times in one day, then I would read 100 pages. And I'm gonna make my way through last week, so Monday to Friday. I'm unfortunately not gonna be doing Saturday and Sunday because I am moving and I will not have time to film this video because I'll be moving on the weekend. So it's kind of not lined up like that, but I feel like it's fine. We'll do Monday to Friday, a working week if you will, and we'll just see if I can actually do this, because honestly there's some pretty high phone pickup days in this challenge for me, and I don't know if I'll be able to actually read the amount of pages that I picked up my phone. To put it into perspective, I typically don't really read above 200 pages in a day. If I read 200 pages, that's kind of my maximum. I never seem to read more than that in a day, and I feel like my sweet spot of pages to read in a day is about 100 pages, give or take, maybe a bit less some days, maybe a bit more, 150 being like the, you know, if I'm going for it, but I never read more than 200 pages. So some of the days we do have quite high numbers. I don't know if I can do it. But without further ado, let's get into the video and see if I can not pick up my phone as much. It would also be interesting to see how the phone pickups decrease during this week. We'll definitely add that in at the end. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Good morning everyone. It is the first day of this little challenge that I'm doing. I have decided to start off by reading Funny Story first, because this one has been on my TBR for quite a few months now, and I feel like if I'm not going to read it in September, then I'm not going to read it until like next spring/summer, because to me this book just gives me summer vibes, and we're very like quickly moving into very much autumn vibes, very much autumny months, and I just feel like this is my last chance to read this book. And honestly, I'm really in the mood for it. Like, I really just fancy picking up an Emily Henry book, like an M-Hen book. You know the vibes, because yeah, she's a great author and I love a lot of her books, so I'm interested to give her newest release a go, because I really want to like reread her old books and just see where I stand with them now. So yeah, I'm really excited to kind of delve back into her writing style, that kind of thing. And of course this one is so popular, it's so widely talked about because it is her latest release. I've seen so many people say that it's such a great book, and honestly, like, I'm so excited. I feel like it could go 50-50, because I have seen a few people say it was maybe a bit of a letdown, but then other people say it's like the best book ever, like their favourite Emily Henry book. So I'm like, where will I stand on the scale of how much I enjoy this? So if you didn't know, this book basically follows our main characters, Miles and Daphne, and they are both in relationships with two other people, but then one day the two other people, who I think were childhood best friends, decide that they actually want to marry each other. So they go off and they're like, we're really sorry, like, we're breaking up with Daphne and Miles. We're sorry, we really want to break up with you guys because we just love each other and we want to be together. So then Daphne and Miles are kind of stuck, and they're a bit like, oh, like, great, this is amazing. So then I think that they decide to be flatmates or housemates or whatever, because they obviously need to move out, they need somewhere to live, and I think that's kind of where the story starts. So it's definitely like an interesting place to start a story, because we're kind of starting off where both of these characters are in the same boat, like they are in the same situation. So I'm interested to see like how they're gonna develop their relationship, I guess. So last Monday I picked up my phone 158 times, which I'm kind of like, that seems a lot, but then I'm like, is that a lot? Because I pick my phone up for like the most random things. Like sometimes I will just pick my phone up, go on it, and then like instantly click off and like put it down. So 158 times, it feels like a lot, but yeah, last Monday, the 2nd of September, I picked up my phone 158 times. So therefore today I'm going to be reading 158 pages of Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I'm excited. I feel like that's a decent number, honestly. Like, to me, that is probably like the average I would read daily, like how many pages I would read daily anyway. So it doesn't feel like too much of a stretch of a challenge. If it was like over 200 pages, maybe that would get into like challenging for me, but I think 158 seems doable. So we'll see how long it takes me, we'll see where I get up to in the story, and I'll give updates when I've read the 158 pages. Also, another thing I have realised recently is that I very much struggle to read just like sat in my house. Like obviously I'm on like the comfy chair right now, and I really struggle to like read when there's nothing going on around me. Like I'm currently just sat alone in this chair. Obviously I could put the telly on, but I really prefer reading like sat where there's like stuff going on around me, like a cafe or that kind of thing. I don't know why, like my brain can concentrate better with stuff going on around me, which I'm like, is that a bit weird? I don't know, but yeah, I definitely prefer like having some atmosphere, some noise going on around me, and I really do struggle to like sit and just read for like a long amount of time when I'm just alone, sat down in my house with nothing going on around me. I don't know. So yeah, I've been really struggling with concentration recently, which is kind of a bit random, but yeah. But anyway, without further ado, let's go read. Let's start off the challenge, the first day of this challenge. Woo! This book up. It is so good. 5-star prediction. My cup that I'm drinking my coffee from this morning. Oh my gosh, it's got like little bats on it and little stars. It says eek. Spooky. I don't know if anyone noticed, but in like a lot of my last videos I had the cutest pumpkin printed glass like iced coffee cup, and I smashed it and it's now broken, it's in pieces, and I don't live anywhere near the shop that I got it from, so that's just, that cup is gone sadly, and I'm gonna have to be on the hunt to find like another perfect cup. But I literally love that cup. I don't want to talk about it. It was a sad day. However, on the topic of the video, I actually finished the page count last night. I read up to page 158, and that was the amount of times I picked up my phone last Monday. So I picked it up 158 times, so 158 pages were read. I didn't read any more than that because I am just going to be reading like the amount, like bang on that amount. And here are my little thoughts on Funny Story. So first things first, I would like to say that quite frankly, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this book. It is so good. Something about it is just scratching an itch in my brain. I don't know why. I think this could be a 5 stars. And I know that's a bit silly to say because I'm not even halfway into it yet, but just right off the bat, the way that it's written is just, it's just stunning. I am loving the writing style. Awkward. I hate when like a car pulls up when I've got my tripod set up in the window. Anyway, yeah, I am loving this book. I think that the way that Emily Henry writes is so gorgeous, and she just really like sets the scene, you know? And the way that she writes the characters, they feel super real, and they kind of feel like, they just feel like real people. I feel like the difference between an Emily Henry romance book and like another romance book is that these people, they feel relatable in a way. Like they feel like real people that actually would exist, and the romance feels real. It feels like an actual relationship that would like come about in the real world. And I think that this story particularly is really showcasing that. The two characters, Miles and Daphne, it feels very organic. Like their relationship feels very organic, and I'm really liking it. So we've got Daphne, who is a librarian. I think she's a children's librarian at like the local library. I believe it's set in Michigan, could be wrong, but yeah, she's the local librarian. That's her job, and obviously she's going through the fact that her fiance has broken up with her, and she feels like, well, what has gone on here? Like, I've created this life with you for 2 years, and then I've just kind of been dropped. And she's realizing and coming to terms with the fact that the life that she has built in this place, in this house, with these people, wasn't really even real, because there was all his friends, it was his house, it was like his town, if you know what I mean. And she's kind of having to come to terms with the fact that not only is she now broken up with, but she has to start fresh in a way. And I feel like that's a really interesting standpoint to start the book from. We have Miles, who she's obviously moved into his flat because he had a spare room, and he's also dealing with the fact that he's come from a 3-year relationship and she has broken up with him. And it's showing like how, from a guy's standpoint, how he's trying to get over that breakup, because usually I feel like it's definitely the woman's point of view where we're seeing how they deal with the breakup. So it's interesting to kind of see how he's dealing with it as well. And it's also, I like how it started off where they're both at the same point, like they are both going through the exact same thing, and it's kind of interesting to start a romance off that way. I feel like that's not really done too often, but they're starting off that romance that way. And yeah, they're both in the same boat, and we're seeing them heartbroken, which is obviously not nice at all for them, but we're seeing them go from that and how their characters are developing and evolving and getting over this horrible heartbreak. And the way that Emily Henry writes that is just like love. Also, I'm just filming this as yesterday her book for next year has just been released. I think it's called like Beautiful Life, it's something like that, I don't know. But yeah, reading this book now and it being a 5-star prediction for me is making me just instantly want to go back and reread all the other Emily Henry books that I've read, because I've never rated one 5 stars, but I've talked about it before. I kind of read all of her books when I was starting off my reading journey and I didn't really know what I wanted, and I wasn't really a big reader back then. So yeah, I feel like I need to go back and reread them all and see where I stand now. I've just realised as well I had those glasses on, so I'm very sorry if there was like a glare the entire way through that clip. I'm sorry about that. So today's amount of pages that we need to read is 166 pages. So last Tuesday I picked up my phone a grand total of 166 times, so more than the Monday. Yeah, but 166 pages, I still feel like that is doable. I feel like that's an achievable goal. Perhaps I have a few more things to do today, but hopefully I'll be able to do that. And it's surprising me how much I'm flying through this book from the amount of pages. Like, after today's pages, I think we'll be nearly done with the book, which is crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna go do some reading. I'm gonna read our page count and I'll update you when I've read those later tonight. Day. It is now Wednesday? It's now Wednesday, and last night I read the amount of pages I had to read, which was 168? Was it 168? Anyway, I had to read up to page 324, which I did, and yeah, I had such a great time. Honestly, this book, like, I have not been able to put it down. Like, I've just wanted to keep reading, keep finding out more about our characters. It's just felt like such a you know, you just find a book and you just like, reading this is literally making me so happy right now. Like, that was how I felt reading this book. I loved every single second. I have actually finished it now because today's amount of pages to read, like the amount of times I picked up my phone last Wednesday was 199 times. I feel like we're increasing as the week goes on. Okay, I feel like we're getting into the 200 territory and I'm not really okay with that. But we have 199 pages to read today. So far I have read, there were 60 pages left of this book, so I just finished them this morning. So I've read 60 pages of the page count, which I think leaves us with about 139 pages left to read today. So we're going to have to pick a different book, but I just thought I'd give my updates and thoughts and feelings on Funny Story before I move on to the next book. So I have decided to rate this book a, drum roll please, a 5-star. A 5-star Funny Story, because this book has my heart. It is quite literally my favourite Emily Henry book I have ever read. I loved it so much, and I just feel like something in it spoke to me. I love the fact that Emily Henry writes romance books that don't just feel like the typical rom-com, the typical romance book, which I love. I love those kind of books, but sometimes you're just in the mood for something a little bit more. And she kind of writes it almost like the relationship and the romance takes a little bit of a backseat. It's almost like women's fiction, and we're following our main female character through her life as she discovers herself, as she finds things out about herself and rectifies some things that she doesn't like. And in the backseat, we've got like this relationship going on, which does heavily feed into the plot, don't get me wrong, but it almost feels in a way like how I felt when I read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, where it was like mainly about our female main character, but there was still like the romance definitely there, just as a backseat. I feel like the main characters got along so well, and I loved how there was a kind of almost like opposites attract in some ways, but at the same time they were so perfect for each other. And I think the story's progression it was just perfect. Like, everything that happened was just perfect. And I love how Emily Henry she like really sets the scene of this small town vibe, and it just makes you think like, oh my gosh, like I can picture it right now. I love the characters, like not even just the main two characters, but the whole cast of characters are amazing. And I love how she always just paints the scene of this like gorgeous scenic small town vibe. And yeah, I absolutely loved every second of it. Also, can I just say, this might be a really unpopular opinion, but I love reading hardbacks. Like, I love reading a hardback book. I think I prefer it to reading a paperback. There's just something about like the sturdiness of like a hardback book, you know? I love it. I think this is my favourite like form to read in out of all forms of reading, which is kind of crazy. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments there, because I feel like that's a bit of an unpopular opinion. But yeah, if you are looking for a really great romance story that feels like more than just your everyday romance, then I highly recommend Funny Story. I definitely give it a go, because I'm so sad that it took me so long to get round to this book, and it took me so long to read it, because I bought it when it first released a few months ago, and I've just been like, oh, I don't know if I'll like it, I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. And I'm so glad that it was on this month's TBR, because I just loved it so much. I just speechless. She's speechless for once. But now it's time to move on to our next book. We need to read 139 pages today, because we've already read the 60 for Funny Story. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go in with, of course, another book from my monthly TBR that I chose in my TBR jar video, because I'm just really trying to work through those books on that TBR this month, because last month I think I read one and I was like, girl, like you've got to kind of read a few more. You can't just like set these TBRs and then just read like no books from it. So this is the next book. I'm thinking I'm going to read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Again, kind of like the same reasoning behind Funny Story, that I feel like these two books give me almost like a summer vibe. So if I don't read them now at the end of summer, yes, it's kind of, to me it's autumn, but like technically we're still at the beginning of September. Is it summer? The jury's out. This is like the cut-off point to me for these summer feelings. But yeah, I feel like if I'm not going to read it now, when I'm going to read it. So this is going to be the next book. I also am obsessed with the fact that it's another hardback. And this one is kind of on the shorter side as well, so I'm thinking like we might be able to start another book in this challenge. How many books am I getting to read just by exchanging the amount of times I pick up my phone for page count? It's kind of crazy, and maybe I should just like stop picking my phone up so much. But yeah, I'm going to go to lunch with my lovely Nana now, and then when I get back I'm going to sit down and read some of this book. I'm going to start it and I'll give you my thoughts and feelings when I've started it. Look like I don't even know, I'm not looking my best right now. But yesterday I actually failed the challenge, only by 39 pages, but you know when it just gets like that time in the evening where you just like, I simply must go to bed, like I cannot continue, and the thought of like having to read more is just like, absolutely not, like I will not be able to do that. So I failed by 39 pages, and do you know what, it's not the end of the world, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes we have busier days, and I still managed to finish Funny Story yesterday, and I read 100 pages of 7 Days in June. I read 100 pages of 7 Days in June, and then today the amount of pages I had to read was 153, because last Thursday I picked up my phone 153 times, so like a lot better than yesterday. So I've already actually read the pages I was meant to read today, which takes us to page 253 of 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. And here are my thoughts and feelings on this book so far. so far, it's not my fave. It's not my fave. I really like how Tia Williams writes. I like her writing style. I like how kind of almost poetic it feels, and it also feels like quite like a slice of life type of book, you know. It's like there's not really a plot, it's definitely more of like a character study, and we're just following these characters along as they reunite. So it basically follows our two main characters, Eva and Shane, and these two characters met when they were like late teens. So what we're getting is we're getting their POV now, and then we're getting their POV back when they met, back when they like were friends or whatever. So we're getting the POV from back then and then the POV from now, so past and present, which I just love a past and present timeline, like it just love. But I feel like there's often times where I'm a bit like, it feels a little bit slow in places where I'm a bit like you're losing me, like there's a little bit, I think it's because it's like such a character driven book. We really don't have a lot of plot at all, so I think due to the fact that it is so character driven, obviously those books can tend to be a little bit slower, but overall, like, I am still enjoying it, and I like our characters, I like the story. It feels very poetic and it feels like a beautiful love story, so I'm liking that element of it. But I think it might even have to do with like I'm just not in the mood today to read, maybe. But yeah, that's kind of like where I stand at the moment. I think at the moment it's sitting at like a 3.5, which is still a good book and I still would recommend it. And yeah, I'm gonna have to finish it off and then give you my full thoughts at the end. But don't take that as that I don't enjoy the book, because I do, and I think that the writing style is really well written and it's really great, and I like the characters, and I like how we're following two authors. Like, we're really getting the insight into like kind of like the writing world, and I like how different I should have probably mentioned this, both characters are also authors. So Shane, he writes kind of like one book every so many years, and he's really famous and really well known. And then we have Eva, who she writes this kind of like werewolf vampire fantasy romance, and it's like a 14 book long series, so there's lots of books there, and she does that basically just to keep her and her daughter afloat. And what we find out in the kind of beginning is that they are almost writing about each other. So his main protagonist is her, and one of her male leads is him. So they're kind of like taking out all of this pent up frustration and longing and stuff throughout their works of writing, which is also really unique and interesting to read about. But yeah, I am gonna leave it there today. I could have potentially read the 39 pages to make up for yesterday's lost time, but I think we're just gonna move on. Yesterday was yesterday, today's a new day, we're moving on, and tomorrow is like one of the biggest reading days of the challenge, so just kind of saving up my energy for that. It is literally Friday night right now. I have not updated all day. Oops. I've had a bit of a busy day, and I've had every intention of like picking up my book and reading, but I've just actually genuinely not had chance, and that is kind of annoying. But update. So today was actually the biggest reading day that was meant to be. I think I picked up, I'll put it on the screen, but last Friday I picked up my phone 230 times, which what was I seriously doing last Friday? Because who do I think I am picking my phone up that many times? That's crazy. I think I have a bit of a phone addiction, but that's beside the point. So I was meant to read 230 pages today, and I have actually I've read, I think it's like 70 pages, around 70 pages, maybe just a few more. And I have managed to finish 7 Days in June. I'm holding up the dust jacket right now because the hardback's downstairs and I'm lazy. I'm lazy at the moment. But yeah, I finished this book. I'm gonna rate it a 3.5 stars. I thought it was a really great book. I thought it was really well done, and I felt like the characters were really great. I thought it was such a deep and emotional love story, but I do feel like the ending was a tiny bit rushed. It felt a tiny bit rushed in my opinion. Maybe that was how it was meant to be though, I'm honestly not sure, but it just felt a little bit like it just felt like everything happened really quickly and then it just finished. but again, like I said, that might have been the point. But yeah, I just felt like it felt very fast. But I really enjoyed how we explored sort of like a much deeper love story. Our characters wasn't perfect. Like, it wasn't just the usual romance where we've got like two characters who have nothing going on in their lives. It's just two people who meet and fall in love and happily ever after. Like, it wasn't that. And I did like that it was a much deeper love story, and our characters felt like they was true soulmates. Like, it felt quite emotional, and the way that it was written as well, it was written in third person, which I honestly don't mind a third person book. I thought it felt really like effective with this story, because it felt like we was kind of having like a narrator who was telling us the story, and we was getting like points of views from multiple people. We was getting like little insights into different people throughout the story, and it felt like we was really getting everyone's backstory. We knew what was going on, and even like the side characters who didn't have like a huge part, we still understood them and we knew them as a character, and I really enjoyed that. So I did think that it was really effective having like this all-knowing narrator telling us the story. So I do recommend this book if you're looking for a definitely more character driven romance. It's like definitely a like no plot character study vibes, you know, so it's definitely like that. If you're in the mood for that and you're in the mood for a deep emotional love story, then I highly recommend this book. I also like how it linked back to the title, and it did follow like 7 days in June. I don't know why, I just like it when books do that and they like link to the title. And I also liked how I felt like we did have a lot happen just within 7 days. So yeah, I really like this book. I love Tia Williams' writing style, and I'm definitely going to read her other books. I'm not sure what other books she has. She definitely has like, I think it's like a newer release, and I've heard that is it like a love song for Ricky Wilde? I think it's got like magical realism in it, that kind of thing, so I'm very excited for that. But I don't know if you can tell, I am really in my autumn mood right now. I've got the nice ambience lighting on. I've got my Harry Potter t-shirt on because the urge I get every autumn to rewatch all the Harry Potter films, to reread the books. But right now in my head, like, I've not read the Harry Potter books in so long, so I don't want to watch the films. I want to read the books first and then watch the films. That's my struggle. And I might do like a full vlog of me rereading all of the books. So it's been like, I think the last time I read them must have been like 5 years ago maybe. So that's kind of crazy, and I really just want to like get into my cozy fall vibes and just read all of the books, like fly through the series, because I love it so much. I'm such a Harry Potter girly, so we love that. But it is about 9:30 right now. I've been for tea tonight with my dad and my sister. I had a tofu hot pot and it was so spicy. My nose was just like running at the table. I was like, oh, it's kind of awkward, like, oh, just like snotty girl over here. But I had every intention of reading The Risk by Elle Kennedy, and then for some reason I got this really strong urge to read non-fiction, and this is the only one I have on my shelves like at all. I'm not a non-fiction girly, but I kind of want to be. So if you have any like really hard-hitting non-fiction recs, please like let me know. But yeah, I just kind of, this was on this month's TBR, and I just got the really strong urge to give it a go and start reading it. I'm not sure why. I've even got like a pen, because this I feel like is going to be one that I want to annotate. So this is Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and it's like basically, I think, a collection of folklore and tales and stories and things like that that showcase women, and I've heard that it's very impactful, and you can pick it up, read any chapter and feel like you have got such a powerful insight. And I just love books that are based on feminism and women in general, like that kind of thing. I think it's so interesting and empowering, and I would love to read more books like that. So I just had the really strong urge to pick this up. So I'm gonna sit tonight and I'm gonna read like the introduction and maybe like chapter 1. I'm gonna underline some things, annotate it, that kind of thing. That's just really tickling my fancy right now. Like, I really want to do that. So I'm gonna put The Risk on the back burner for now, unless I like get the urge instead of this one later on. But I do think tonight I'm gonna finish off with this. I'm definitely not gonna reach my goal, which would be 230, so I think that's like 160 pages I would have to read. Listen, I don't think that's gonna happen. I just don't think that's gonna happen. I today have only wanted to get into cozy pajamas, get into bed and watch Gilmore Girls. Like, Gilmore Girls for me right now is my obsession, and that's all I want to watch all day every day. So I'm not really in the mood to read like 130 pages tonight because I'm a slow reader, and that would probably take me to like midnight. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna like peacefully read a few chapters of this and admit defeat. Clearly I am a phone addict, and I apparently cannot read as much as I pick up my phone, which is a big fat issue, and I'm definitely going to work on that. I'm going to go read some now, and then I'll update you tomorrow. Concludes today's video. So I have failed on 2 of the days. 2 out of 5 days I have failed this challenge, which it's fine, you live and you learn. I'm sorry. But seriously though, I feel like I've read some great books this video, and I've also managed to take 2 books off of my physical TBR from exchanging phone pickups for reading, which is really, really amazing. To conclude, I read Funny Story at the start of the week by Emily Henry, and then I went on to read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Now, I rated Funny Story a 5 stars, which is just like amazing. This book was phenomenal, loved it so much. And then I rated 7 Days in June. I think I'm going to settle definitely on like a 3.5 star. It was still really good. It just wasn't like my favourite book I've ever read, but I still really enjoyed both of these books. I feel like there was great experiences, great reading experiences, and I had a fun time with both of them. Last night I also started Women Who Run with the Wolves. I read the introduction and chapter 1. So I have like barely scratched the surface, to be honest, with this book, and maybe you'll see it in another video, but if not, you will definitely see it in my reading wrap up for this month. I hope that I manage to finish it at some point this month, but I am so far really enjoying it, and I feel like this is going to be one of them books that I just pick up and I'm like, wow, like I feel like impacted. I feel like I've just learned something, that kind of thing, you know. And I feel like I'm just gonna feel like, if this is like, to me, a train book. Like, if I was on the train and I got this book out, I'd be like, she's very demure. She's very, very demure. I'd be like thinking I'm really smart for reading this. So yeah, I am going to continue with it throughout the month. It's definitely giving me the vibes of that it would be, for me personally, one that I'd pick up every so often. Definitely not to read like in one sitting, I don't think. But yeah, so far so good. Well, I don't know if I recommend it yet, but after chapter 1 I do. So I will pop Monday to Can I actually speak? I will pop Monday to Fridays phone pickups on the screen somewhere around me right now. Here are the phone pickups that I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. See if it's kind of like a different contrast from the start, which hopefully it will be. I've not checked yet, but honestly, who knows? Like, I am just crazy at picking up my phone. It's actually an issue. And with that brings us to the end. Hope that you enjoyed today's video. I definitely thought it was really fun. I feel like it's such a cool concept, so thank you, Ellen Catherine, for the video inspiration. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!